can post your questions in the Telegram group. And the recording of the meeting will be sent to you by email. And now, about the presenter. This person is a technical communication solutions architect and certified usability analyst. You might be wondering why I'm reading the words that is present on the screen in this slide, but he is someone who is actually qualified to call himself as a technical communication solutions architect. He has over 20 years of experience in TechCom, and he prefers to be a generalist when it comes to technical writing. He has played multiple roles over 2 decades in this field, and he is interested to sharing what he knows. And he is a person who likes to talk, so if you ask him a question, he will give you in-depth answers to all your questions. Currently, he is interested in application of personal knowledge management, both in his work as well as in life. So put your hands together, people, for Xavier Roy, the person who has the mathematical notes as his background. Everyone, put your hands, please. And one more thing, uh, if you people want to talk about the session, you can post it, share this session in your social media pages, or you can share your feedback about the session in your social media pages. And everyone is welcome to for their opinion. And let's get into the meeting. Welcome, Xavier. I call you upon to the stage.
Thanks, Sandeep, and thanks, Puneet, for this opportunity to talk at the 128 session for Technical Stripe. Um,
You can share your screen.
so, just a confirmation. And one second, let me just move this meeting stuff right, so that I can look at chat or anything that comes up. Okay. So welcome to the session on personal management for writers. And personal management is, as Sandeep was mentioning in this intro, that's something that I am very much interested in. So as I switch up my video,
There seems to be an echo. I request everyone to please go on mute so that there won't be any disturbance for this presenter. Thank you. And I also request audience to come on camera if their bandwidth permits, so that it will be an encouragement for the speaker to present his session. And we don't want him to speak to computers. So yeah, please go ahead, Xavier.
thanks all. So if anybody has a question, please use that raise hand button. At least I'll try to answer it if possible. If it's related, you need not wait till the end. Just introduction, I work at Genesis as staff technical writer. My role is mostly into writing, editing, content engineering, and other things that are not part of the job description. So some ground, or to say some caveats before we start is this is highly opinionated in the sense it is based on my opinions, my biases, all that is there. And there are a lot of ideas. Feel free to take it, use it in your context. And when I show a demo or when I talk about something, I'm talking about what works for me. So it might or may not work for you. So, but the ideas are generic. I'm trying to make it as generic as possible so you can start applying it in your work or in your life immediately. So if everybody is curious, let's me start with some questions for you. So usually we have questions at the end, so I'll start with a question. So what does knowledge mean to you? So if anybody has a thought, you unmute and give your thoughts or use the chat.
Information.
So what does knowledge? Okay, information. I didn't see who mentioned it.
Divya.
So
Divya.
Divya, okay. Information, okay. Akash, information as a reference. Okay. So how many of you have had this feeling when you thought that you knew something, but but you couldn't understand or you couldn't reflect on it or recall it. I think this is something that most of us would have had experiences and moments of serendipity. Okay, you were looking at something, then suddenly you got another idea that was related to it. I think all of us have experienced this, right? So think about life in the post-pandemic, post-pandemic world. We don't go to offices. We still get in touch with people via multiple channels. So how does a typical day in a writer's life look like? So we deal with information, and this information can come from different people in the organization. Could be talking to an SME about a ticket or some information. It can come from other employees. It can come from customers, from teammates, and you also will generate a lot of information throughout the day, right? And think of how many different sources of information that you get: emails, calls, Zoom meetings, chat conversations, you're browsing. So if you look at a typical day in your life, look at, say, if you're not done so, start from Monday. Look at things, how much pieces of information that you are exposed to, or how much, what you are looking at. And I think most of us would have had this information where somebody asked for something and you cannot recall where or what it is, right? So sometimes we find it. So if you think about how did you find it? Did you search for your mails, tickets, folders, files, images, or is there any reason why you did not find it? So what we have so far is data throughout the day, and now we have colored it, saying, okay, this piece of information is related to a ticket, or this is related to a talk that I had. This is an idea. So we are coloring the dots of data that we have, right? So coming to what is PKM. PKM, I'll go with some textbook definitions. Okay. So feel free to raise your hand if you have a question after these definitions. So knowledge management, I picked it up from Wikipedia. It's kind of a general knowledge, right? So basically, the definition of that term is how you capture and distribute knowledge. But we are looking at personal knowledge management today. So how do we apply it in our context? So this is basically about helping us see, it's helping us in our daily activities and to support our work activities. Now, work is not just your 9 to 5 day job. It could be anything in your life. It could be your hobby. It could be anything. But this don't take the work as the literal meaning of work, but the way that you collect information to gather it, how you store it, how you retrieve it, get that information, right? So that is what personal knowledge is. And this is a pet topic for me because as a writer, this is a very important skill that you need to possess. Because as we've seen, we get a lot of information, we work on information, we produce information, we are sources of information. So all this is how we get things done or how we convert that information to knowledge, right? So when you think of the sources of we were looking at information, right? So now look at sources of knowledge that you work through your day, normal day. Start noticing from Monday, or if you want, you can start from today. So think this uh, webinar is a source of information. So it starts from here, right? So you can start noticing things, what you do. So that is the definition of PKM. So I would like if anybody has a question that to I can go for it before we go to the next section. Questions or chat. I think. Okay, I'm guessing it's people understanding or so. Now we have this information, right? Now all these pieces of information, big or small, which may not make sense in the beginning first, but once we start collecting them, these colored dots, and we try to bring some structure to it. So we start connecting stuff, connecting these random pieces of information, and that's how we gain knowledge. So once you start connecting idea A to idea B to a thought of a different thought of C, then you start linking them together. So how do you do that? So you do it through tools for thought. This is a term that's being mentioned in the PKM world for a couple of years, at least in the last few months. So tools for thought. What is it exactly? So basically, it is a structured system that you have. So you organize your thoughts, notes, and files. I think most of us do it in a way. So I hope in one of the teasers for this, I think we had asking people the question about, do you have things stored in a file, uh, the folder, images, and all that. So yeah, I would just open it up. So people, do you do this? If you do this, how do you maintain it? I just want to ask people.
So if anyone has any doubts or questions, you can raise your hand, or you can put it in chat.
Divya, I said my voice was not clear. Was it just one for a couple of instances, or was it like throughout the session?
Yeah, it's been throughout.
Throughout. Okay, sorry about that. So anybody else? Is it cracking? Is it cracking because of or
It's not cracking river exactly, but it's like going up and down. So
I think it could be my. Let me see if
yeah,
my.
it's like problem with some speaker. Maybe that's what it appears a bit low at times. Or maybe
Let
you
me.
come closer to the laptop. Maybe that may help.
What about now? Is it better now?
Yeah.
Okay,
No,
I switch
it's
devices. So I could go back and for a couple of slides at least. So did everybody get which parts of it, so I could recap it quickly?
Yes, Xavier, you can recap it quickly if you want. And I believe others got a sense of what you said uh, in their speakers. I mean, in their in their headphones.
In the headphones, right? Okay. Let me just quickly run through this. Knowledge management is basically how you capture information, and personal management is basically how you use or capture information to support your daily activities or work activities. So basically, we had this collection of information. Now we are trying to connect it to form knowledge, right? You start bringing in some structure so that it becomes knowledge. And how do you do that is through tools for thought. So this is where I had a question, like how do you organize stuff? So one of the tools for thought is like having a structured system in place to organize your information. So my question to the audience is, do you do this? Or how do you do this? Do you use folders? Do you use any other mechanisms? So if anybody has an answer, we can talk about it.
Yeah. Hi, Xavier. This is Rohini. I use some tools to organize my thoughts and the data that you collect so that it becomes knowledge later on. I mean, some information that I could use later. I use OneNote from Microsoft, and also I use mapping tools for putting my thoughts in a categorical way. And these are two main things that I use to store my thoughts or the data that I collect, the information that I collect, and then later I use them, and it is very effective. But I don't know if there are better ways than them. So that's something that I'm interested in, and I like the way you're doing it. So I would like to hear more.
Yeah.
But that's what
Yeah.
I do.
Yeah. Thanks, Romy. Thanks, Romy. So one is
And Xavier, Sandeep, from the chat, probably Xavier is not able to see. People are responding there. You can read it out, right?
yeah, I can see the chat. I just yeah, but there are people using OneNote and Evernote. That seems to be more older than Sandeep uses folders. So he's the only one who uses folders, it seems so. Okay, so these are tools for thought, right? One is the analog tools. You could use analog tools, or you could use digital tools, and you could use knowledge frameworks. That is a new concept that is in the market. So analog tools is nothing but your pen and paper, your sketch notes, you write. So I always have a piece of a paper or something that you capture notes, right? So you can use a diary, you could use what to say, sheets of paper, notepads. So recently I have a digital note that I take notes now and then. The other tools are people have mentioned, right? Evernote was mentioned, OneNote was mentioned, Keep was mentioned. Keep, I think anybody who uses Android phones has Keep. Apple phone users have the Apple Notes. These are some of the digital tools. The Evernote has been in the market for a long time. I've been using Evernote almost for more than 2 decades. TiddlyWiki was my tool of choice. It's a small standalone. It's a standalone HTML file that you can use. Can carry it anywhere. You can just use that. It's been something that I used for the last decade and a half. OneNote comes with everybody. Everybody who's using Microsoft Office has OneNote installed, and it is free. Keep and Apple Notes come with those. So the top four is something that you might be aware of for using it earlier. The bottom portion is things, especially Notion, Roam, and Obsidian are tools that have grown, or tools for thought that have grown over the last couple of years. I would say most of them started during the or just before the pandemic started. So early 2020 or later 2019 was when these tools started coming into focus. But over the pandemic, they have grown a lot. So these are other tools that you could use if you're using digital medium. Then I was mentioning about knowledge framework, right? So there are other terms that they use for alternative terms that they use for knowledge framework. Some people call it digital gardens or Zettelkasten or a second brain. Then there are frameworks like PARA, which stands for projects, areas, resources, and archive. Then that LYT stands for linking your thinking. And there's something called Johnny Decimal method. Don't worry about these. I have provided links in the references section so that you can read through it, look and read through that, understand what they are in detail. Because if I start talking about them, then this Saturday will become Sunday. So, and again, these knowledge frameworks are useful only when they are useful anytime, but mostly when you have to organize stuff in a structured format, right? You decide to bring in some discipline into your knowledge management system, then that's when these knowledge frameworks will come into play, and they are helpful. They are helpful. So questions on this, because as we saw these, you have these knowledge that you have built. Now, how do you get insights? So insights is basically how an idea A connects to idea B or idea D. And that's how you get insight between these two things, and how do you find the connection to it? So before yeah, I just wanted to ask if there are any questions on the previous frameworks and tools slide, tools for thought section.
Xavier, in the chat, there are no questions for the previous slides. So if anyone wants to ask now in live, you can raise your hand or you can put it in the chat.
Okay, so I'll move to Obsidian because this is my favorite tool of choice. So as I said, it is highly opinionated. So this is my opinion as one of the best tools that you can use. And what is it? It's basically you're building a knowledge base of in a local folder. So Sandeep, you should be happy because you are the one who uses folders. So all of this, so Obsidian works basically on a set of markdown files. You have some text files in your local machine in a specific folder, and then based using that text files, you can build up a knowledge base. Think of it as your personal knowledge base because it can be carried over to any other different organization or different as long as the folders is with you, stays with you, right? You can carry it anywhere, you can use it anywhere. So I use it as a second brain idea. I'll probably explain that a little bit better, and it is free. Obsidian is free, and I'll try to. You can download it from obsidian.md. The link is. I'll share the link as part of the session notes. So you could download it. It's available for a lot of platforms. So I use it on my office laptop, personal laptop, my phone, and my tab. So you can install it anywhere, and it's available on most platforms. So I think it's not a specific one, a platform specific tool that you want to use. And we'll look at it. We'll look at how it works and how you can use it. So some of the use cases that I use for, okay, this is like, there are a lot of use cases, but this is something that how I use it. I use it as a personal knowledge base. So all my notes, all my pieces of information go into this. I also use it as a task of project management. At work, tasks, looking at task and product management is part of our job. So I use it for that. I also use it as a digital notebook, like taking notes on something, courses that I attend, trainings that I see, YouTube videos that I find, all that, and journaling. Think of it as a diary that you want to show. So if there are any questions I'd like to answer before we jump to a demo.
Anyone, any questions? I think we are good for the demo,
Okay,
Xavier.
we are good for the demo. Okay. So just pause the presentation and could you see Obsidian? I have an instance running. So
I see no file is open on the
yeah,
screen.
that is fine. That is fine. That is fine. So Obsidian works on a vault, kind of I was telling you about a vault, right? So I'll just share where it is. It opened and I closed it. So you could see this TWT-PKM, right?
Yes.
So this is the folder that runs on that's opened by Obsidian. So if you click open, and I'm going to open a vault. I'm going to choose the same location, demo, TWT-PKM. So you get that. You can see it's being open. So how does this work? Let's start by just by creating one. So you click on new file, or you can use Control-N, or you could. So you get it. You create a file. So I'm going to create a file called node01, and I'm going to use Markdown. I'm going to say this is a node. So you could do the standard node formatting, structure markdown formatting. Formatting is available, so you could do Control B to bold, Control I underline. And this I am in the edit mode right now, right? So you could switch to view mode. So it is bold, italics, creating link. So you can switch modes here. The advantage of Obsidian compared to say OneNote or Evernote is linking of notes. Whereas in OneNote is a good tool. I'm not putting putting it down, or Evernote, I'm not putting it down. I've used that. So the advantage that I found while switching over from all the other tools is the concept of linking notes. So I could create something like this is a link to a node 02. So now I have not created a node 02, right? But I can do this. I can do two. So now what happens is it creates a link to this node 2. So it says node 2 is not created yet, right? So I can just click on it. So it gives that name node 2. And if I change the name, it'll update the internal links to it. Sandeep, you have a question like, does it have its own flavor of MD? No, you can have use the standard markdown that you use for any other thing. Yeah, this is link. So this is a link from a node 1. So I just type this two square brackets so I can see the links that are the nodes that are already present in the system. So this is a link from node 2, right? So node 1. The other advantage, right? So let me switch to this. So you see these four files that I've created, right? So if you open this in Notepad or any other text editor, you will still see. Let me open it up with a lot of tools. So Notepad. So you saw that this is a link to Node through. Okay. And I'm going to type something in my in Notepad, right? This. Now node 3 has not been created. It's not in our system. I'm going to save this. Save this. You saw that it's updated. So it's updated to node 3. So I can just click on this. So now I have the title is automatically filled in, and I do node 03. Right now, you saw how it's easy to create nodes or create links between different nodes. So you can just start typing in stuff and then update it later on. You can update things later on or add this information. The other, if you have to do this in one note, right? You might want to do this manually. You have to select it, do a Control K, and you can link to an existing file. But this is like you can create files on the fly or create notes on the fly. The other major advantage I would say is this knowledge graph. This is very much useful. It tells me like, OK, node 1 is connected to node 2 and 3. And if I go to node 3 and I say this is a link to node 1 and I switch the graph. I say that. There's no need to save actually, so it links to it automatically. So see, node 3 has a link to node 2. Oh, sorry, node 3 already had a node, so I'm going to link node 2 to node 3. So now you should see a triangle. So node 1 links to node 2, node 2 links to node 1 and node 2. So you get this connection a bit. The other major, I'll just switch over to, because this might seem a little bit basic, so I'll just switch to the sandbox. This is available when you install Obsidian, and because it's a sandbox thing, any changes you make will. So you can link to this, so you can see that it is linked. You can link to different point. You can jump to anywhere, and you can jump to how you can get started with this. I'll just show an example of OK, but I'll show this, but I would say that don't compare your first thing with what I have done, because this is like I've done it for a long. Yeah, So this is one of the you have the second brain option, right? So this is what I had built so far. So yeah, how it connects to different ideas, how these all connects to India. So if I have books, or I can just I collect stuff. You look through it. So I read a book, then I find that there is a uh, interesting story or an idea that I can take from a book. So from which book did I take that from? So this is notes from my books that I read. So I kind of make notes, try to create the key ideas from a book or something like that. So this is how you can actually use it as a second brain kind of a option where, and to show something that you can embed notes into other notes. So let's switch to our one. So you could do something like you can embed note 1 into note 3, right? So your note 1 is embedded into note 2. Right. Just I'll stop here because I want to get people's thoughts or any use cases that they are interested in as I start going through it in detail, because we still have time.
Anyone?
Xavier?
Yes,
Yeah,
please.
I have a question, Xavier. This is
Yes,
Rohini.
Rona.
What we are seeing in your screen, the knowledge base that you already have, that is built, the formatting and other things that we see.
Yeah.
Is this inbuilt within the tool that you are showing us, or is
Uh,
it something that you are deploying on a different platform?
no, all these are notes, markdown notes that I have. These are all notes. These are basically markdown. So if you look at
Right.
one, if you want to look at the source, like this is markdown, basically anything. So markdown will tell you if I do this, it'll be an block quote, right? So you saw that it changed to a block quote. So this is standard markdown that you use. So you could do, I think this is bold, right? Star, star. So you do that bold. Because this tool allows you, you can just do the Control B to make it bold. So that's so all this is pure plain text. Let me open it in Notepad for you, just for you to see the same file in Notepad. So this is the file that this is plain text. All of these is text that is just displayed in a markdown.
Okay,
What's
so
a renderer?
yeah, so the markdown file that you are showing us is the source, and you show us the output, right?
This
Is
is
that
the
a
output.
preview? Yeah, is this a preview of your the
This is
markdown file within your
yes,
Google
exactly.
Drive? Okay.
Yes, exactly. So so one way of explaining it is let me split this so you have multiple options. So I'm going to split this. So I'm going to show this in the editing mode and this as the final output. Right.
Got it. Yeah.
All right. You could type this and click on this is pure markdown note, markdown, right? So you could see that being rendered here.
Right. Got it. Yeah.
All right. This split view is something I will just talk about why I like it. So I jump to this. So I told you about embed, right? So this is being something that was embedded from. So this is the node that is embedded. So I can do a control click and I'll jump to that particular node. So this is basically my notes from the actual book. So my highlights, my what I understood kind of thing. So basically whatever that I highlighted from the book, my notes on certain things, my ideas and thoughts that I have, interesting words that I highlighted, that I found in this book. So all these are basically notes, right? These are just notes. Just something that you type in. You just have to type something in and it comes, and you could embed images into it. You can just drag and drop images. It'll connect. It'll be stored. It'll be stored within the image. So for example, this would be that image, circle of engagement, right? Yeah. So you have this image. So the moment you can drag and drop all that stuff, you could do. For example, this is notes on a particular book. Right, on a particular book. So I can embed that, so I can go through this and take some key ideas out of it, things like that. Something like that. The advantage is that, as I said, right, the knowledge graph that is there. So this connects a lot of stuff for me. Like, OK, how are these nodes connect? I told you about pieces of information, right? Pieces of information that you have, and this is how you connect it through the plain straightforward linking those nodes together. So I get a network of ideas. I can see how one node relates to a different one. So with this, I'll just switch to this one, and I'm going to open up something how you can use it for work. I'll just open what I use at my day-to-day work, right? This is, I know it is being recorded, but it's fine. I'm not going to show anything confidential. So I take a day, I create a template. So I could create a template for today. So if I click today, so it will fill up this template. This template is filled. So I decide what I want to do, because that's what we are trying to do, right? In a day, we have meetings. So I schedule up my meetings on all that. And I take notes on what happened today. So if I give today, I could do a presentation on PKM, so I could have that as a note. Then I do tasks. Now this is something interesting in the sense this tool can handle tasks. So I have set up a hotkey, so I can say something like take it. I'm going to make it today. I'm going to make it high priority. So you notice that it comes up as my must do today task, or try to do tasks, or overdue tasks, or things that are starting in a week. So these are something that I use for as a task management tool or a personal information management tool. And I could create notes. So if you notice, I have this. So I can click on that. It'll open up that. So during a meeting, I can take notes. I can take notes like, OK, this is something that notes for today, or I can create a task saying that do this. It is due on Tuesday. So it'll create it and it'll link back to my due in a week task. So this is one use of Obsidian, especially for meetings and other things, right? It gives me a list of things, the dates that I have, what I have to do, or my notes from that meeting. So it gives me a real, what to say, the hold of things that I need to do in a day. And again, the graph view helps. I can see I have organized this. So I have templates. I put these stuff here. Then I can just move stuff around if needed, and it's updated.
It looks awesome, Xavier.
So yeah, this takes time. So don't that's what I say. Don't compare. You can start small and you can do things. So if I'm learning something, you could do that. And there's a lot of other things that you can do. I can just look at my daily summary. OK, for the last since August, how has my day been? So how many meetings I'm attending since August a week. So all these data that what tickets that I have opened. So I've also connected with my Jira ticket so I can pull that in and try to get some information out of it. So I can just do a small tag and it will pull data from Jira. So something like say, you see, I could do something like has to be in caps. So Jira plan. So I'm giving the ticket ID. So it'll connect to Jira and get me the data. So it helps a lot of the things that I do. Again, this is how it works for me, how I made it work. I'm very I can help you set this up if you want for your work scenario. And yeah, I will, because I think it'll be useful if you have questions so that I can answer that.
I have two more questions, Xavier. This is Rohini. So you said this is folder based, and you can have the folder in your work system or in your personal system or anywhere. And so does that mean that the folder that you create in your workspace actually also resides in the tool that
No.
how, okay.
No, the tool is it basically looks for a set of folders. So click open what, because I have two monitors, I'm just switching between them. So it opens a folder as a vault. So you could have a set of existing folder already of markdown files, and if you open it, it'll open up as this, and it'll try to create this linking the structure. It tries to understand that. But otherwise it's basically any folder that you can create outside and that you can use. Akash had a question like, do you create? Yes, I have created the template. So this template is like tailored for my use. So you can create your own template, which is what I was about to show next. So the one that we see is a bare bones edition, right? So how do we make it better is through these community plugins that are available. Is black too dark in your screens? I can switch to, you can switch modes like you can switch between files by pressing Control O, or you can switch some settings. These are something that is there in Visual Code or anything. So I can switch to the light mode so it is lighter, easier to view. So you have this set of plugins. So it is disabled by default. And if you switch it on, I have pre-installed a lot of these templates just for our demo purposes. So this gives me a calendar view of my daily notes kind of a thing. Then you can also draw. Now this plugin allows me to draw stuff. So I'll just show that. Enable that. We don't want it. So let's be, yeah. So now I have enabled it. I have a new Xcol draw small option. So I can use this to draw boxes. You can draw flowcharts into this. You can even type text into it. And thing is, you can also link to notes, existing notes that are there. So we had note 01, right? So you can link to it. So I click on this, it'll open up note 1. So you could do a lot of visual stuff also with this tool. You can insert. There are a lot of the other options that are there. They have plugins. They have a library that you can add. You can look for if you're drawing an architecture diagram. Say I like this a lot, so I'll just add it to our Excalibur stuff. Should have been added. maybe because I have too many stuff open, it's not showing up, but it will. You can do that. You can do that. You can add use it for drawing. Use and there's also an inbuilt drawing tool called Mermaid, which again will a lot of which you can use for drawing. I think the support world has that information. As I was telling, all these extra features are comes via the plugins that others have developed. So you could have a daily note kind of a thing, tasks that will help you do things. Akash, you are asking about the Jira stuff, right? Yeah, you might want to enable this plugin and then configure it with your stuff. So it requires you to connect to your Jira stuff and getting an authentication token before. That's a little bit technical stuff, but it is ruled by anyone if you have a Jira access. So a lot of plugins help you to do a lot of different things. This data view stuff helps you use this as a database. So you could use things like you saw that daily summaries that I was showing. It was pulling in data from. It was pulling in data from the daily summaries were pulling in data from, say, for example, I had this particular summary in my. So this is treated as a variable and it creates a summary of database kind of thing. So you show me summaries where summary is true and build a table kind of fun. I don't want to like make it too complex, but there are a lot of things that you can use this for if you like take some time, work on it, try to do it. But the core thing is you start with a note, collect data, collect information, take notes frequently, go back to our school days, take notes that are useful, meeting notes and all that stuff, and do that. So let's jump back. If there are no questions on this tool, I would like to go back to our presentation. So any questions on the chat? Malati. I was telling you, right? I was using TiddlyWiki for more than a decade, and that's how I got to know about this tool because I was following trends in PKM. And usually I look. The internet is a great source of reference, right? So once you are interested in a subject, there are multiple options for you to discover it. And Roni, do we have a web version of it? No, we don't have a web version of it. We don't have a web version of it currently, so it is you have to install it. You'll have to do one install. So if you're looking for a web version of it, then I would suggest TiddlyWiki because that's a simple standalone HTML file you can open up in a browser and you do it. I think we've just got 5 minutes. So the core idea of using a tool like Obsidian is like connecting it and identifying the path between those two disconnected points. So that's why wisdom comes in. For references, there are these very interesting books, How to Take Smart Notes. That's a very, very interesting book that you should read. And if you're interested in building a personal knowledge base or a second brain, this book, which came out this year, is also a very nice book. It talks about the para method I was telling you about. And you don't have to use a tool. OK, all of this, you don't have to use a tool to get this over. There are ideas in it that you can start using it. And this every page is page one is a book by a technical writer. It's a very interesting book. We use it in our organization. We use these ideas. Basically, every page is page one is you jump into a page and you have information, everything related to that particular topic in that single page. So that's how your notes will also be. For example, when I showed my book notes, it had everything about the book, my highlights from the book, my thoughts on the book, key ideas, and other related books from that I can link to or I can think about. And there were a couple of ideas that I showed, right? Digital Gardens, Zettelkasten. So these are links that are available in the slide, which you can use, which you can read. They are a little bit long, but they are interesting to read. And if you are interested in personal knowledge management or tools for thought, these are things that you should definitely not miss out. Even if you don't use it, the ideas are generic enough for you to apply it somewhere. So that's it. So we moved from data to through information, then we converted knowledge, then we gained some insight, which became wisdom, and then you start having an impact on the world around you. That comes to the end of my slides. So for those interested, this color theme and images came from Fontswell. Yeah, that's it. So questions or anything, this will take you to my website. So if you want to scan, you can do that. Yeah, so questions, if I will be glad to help out people if they want to know more. They want to know more about PKM. This is a very interesting topic to be in. And it's applicable right through your life, not just work. So questions?
Members in the audience, if you like to place any questions, you can use the raise hand button, or you can unmute yourself and ask, or you can even put it in the chat so we can collate it and share with Xavier. So he will answer your questions later on after the webinar. Any questions, audience?
Somebody is typing.
No questions for now, Xavier. Thank you very much for this presentation. This is really interesting. And as you said, it is not just for work, but throughout the life, right? And not limited to writers. Yeah, thank you very much for this.
Yeah, thank you, Modi.
Yeah,
I just
I
hope that.
second that. And I really liked the session. This is very informative. And this is a tool that I just got to know today, Xavier. And it was really awesome to hear you talk about it. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Akash. Thanks, Deepa. And see, the demos that I showed, right? It might be like too complex, but trust me, it takes only a couple of weeks or months for you to get there. Start taking notes, starting small notes, just a simple line to then you start connecting these ideas. This is very, very useful in terms of creativity, coming up with solutions. Or see, you might have heard something in a different context. At work, you might come to think of it, see if you can apply it. So that's my objective here, right? Everybody is born creative. It's just that connecting those dots and building it up to something. It's not like some people are born creative, others are not creative enough. So this helps a lot. This has helped me a lot in my career, so I just wanted to share with everybody so that others can also start doing it. Okay, thank you all. If there are no more questions, then we are a minute over late. So
Xavier will be here for a minute. If anyone has any questions, please use this opportunity to ask him in the live session, or you can share your questions to our email ID and we will share it with Xavier so he can answer your questions through mail, or you can even quote it.
yeah, I'm available on Telegram, WhatsApp. So
Yes, so you
Great. So thank you so much, Xavier. This is pretty interesting perspective, and I think using this will certainly help people in case they are not using. Uh, because over a period of time, when we keep on working, there is so many things to manage. At times, we get caught in our own web, finding one file at an urgent situation where we need to send in 1 minute, it takes hours. So thank you so much. I'm sure people will be very, delighted to use all this.
Yeah, if needed, I was telling Sandeep we could do a follow-up workshop session.
Yeah, I think that will be great.
Yeah, because hands-on will definitely be beneficial.
Yes. I think we can plan for that. So, okay. So, anything else? Anybody? Sandeep, audience? Great then.
From me,
So, we'll catch up again. Thank you everybody for joining. Sandeep, over to you to say bye byes. I'll stop recording. Yeah.
so there seems to be an echo again.
Echo again.